Hey, 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 it's Triple A Wednesday, which is my weekly Ask Alyssa Anything session where I'm popping into the comments and responding to things you've asked about the publishing industry or writing a stronger story. I love hearing what you all have to say. I love learning about what you're working on, and it's just a small way for me to give back to my amazing community of now more than 36,000 subscribers. You all are truly so awesome. If you just stumbled upon this video and don't know what we're all about here, every week, in addition to my Q&A sessions, I also publish an educational video talking about an aspect of the publishing industry, or I give specific writing tips as my background is as a professional book editor. So if any of that sounds interesting to you and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss out on my next videos. One more piece of housekeeping before we dive in. It takes just 1 second, but if you scroll down and hit that thumbs up button, it's a silly, stupid thing, but really helps out my channel with the YouTube algorithm, and I really appreciate it. Let's dive into the first question today. Hi, Alyssa. I've been watching your channel for a while, and I have a question. I've got an unfinished manuscript. I'm attending Pub Crawl 2024, and I purchased a meet and greet add-on, which gives me a 10-minute meeting with an agent. Mine has already been assigned, and she's a really good fit for my story. Feedback on my query letter, and my first 3 pages. I know it's a no-no to query an unfinished manuscript if it's my first time publishing. How can I use this agent's time without wasting it? What can I expect from this meeting? Considering that my manuscript is not ready for publication. It's almost done, outline is done, rough draft is half done, but nowhere near query ready as a whole piece, and I'm just concerned that I'll annoy the agent by being not quite ready. I looked at it as an opportunity to learn and gain feedback, but now I'm having second thoughts help. When you have signed up for a meeting with a literary agent as part of a writing conference or event of some kind, it's ideal to have a complete draft of your manuscript because, best case scenario, if the agent really likes the idea and asks you to send it to them, then you have it ready to go. But it's not game over or necessarily a terrible thing if the book isn't quite ready yet. I actually recently had a client go to a writing conference in that exact position. She was going through major revisions of her manuscript and was concerned that that would be an issue in the meetings that she had with literary agents. But all of them were super encouraging, and some even wanted to see the manuscript when it was ready. But they gave her the space to take the time to work through the rest of the revisions and told her there was no rush to get the manuscript over to her. So in your case, because you are focusing on getting feedback on the query letter and first 3 pages, I don't think it's going to be a big issue that the entire manuscript isn't ready quite yet. The agent is still going to give you very helpful feedback on how to pitch your book in the query letter, what things to include, how to format it, and they could give you helpful feedback on the opening of your novel. In the best case scenario, if they do think that there's a lot of potential in your story and maybe they want to see the whole manuscript, my bet would be that there's no issue with you sending it to them when it's ready. There tends to not be a huge rush with these things. Agents would really rather you take the time to produce a draft that is strong and that you feel very confident in than you rushing to send them something that's half-baked anyway. I hope that alleviates some of your concerns about the conference, and I really hope that the entire experience and the agent meeting goes really well. Here's the next question. What's the percentage of first book bestsellers? To my knowledge, there's no official stat of how many first-time authors become bestsellers, but if you look at any bestseller list on a given week, you will notice that the majority of them are seasoned authors who have multiple books under their belt. That shouldn't necessarily be discouraging to you, though. There are many examples of debut authors whose first book becomes a bestseller. One example that comes to the top of my mind is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. That was her first book, and it became a major bestseller. It became selected for many book clubs, and it is now a film. So just because the majority of authors on the bestseller list aren't first-time authors doesn't mean that you couldn't potentially be one. When I was in the industry, I worked with several debut authors who became best-selling authors with their first book. 2 of those were thriller authors, Catherine Steadman and Karen Cleveland. Even though it's certainly not guaranteed for you to become a bestseller with your first book, it's not impossible by any means, and there are plenty of examples you can look to. But at the same time, I don't want you to get discouraged if your first book doesn't become a bestseller. I also worked with several authors whose careers didn't really start to heat up in a major way, and they didn't become best-selling authors until later in their careers, on their second or third book, say. The publishing industry is also often debating the use of bestseller lists at large. I have another video actually about how the New York Times makes their bestseller list, so if that interests you, I'll link it in the description. Overall, I recommend not getting too caught up in bestseller lists, especially as a first-time author. If you're enjoying my YouTube videos, I have great news. There is so much more content waiting for you on my website, chapter-break.com. I'm doing exclusive interviews with literary agents and successfully published authors. I'm also breaking down specific editorial issues and doing deep dives from my background as a book editor. It's totally free to sign up. By signing up, you're going to get all of that content delivered straight to your inbox so you never miss out. And as a freebie, you'll get my story self-assessment worksheet, which is a resource I designed for anyone who feels stuck with their work in progress. It's going to help illuminate for you what's working well as what you could improve on the next draft. The link to download your free story self-assessment worksheet and check out my newsletter are in the description. We have time for one more question today. You've mentioned the markets of things between YA/adult novels, the new adult genre, but is there such a thing of something that's between middle grade and YA? I'm writing a novel that I feel has elements of both, but I'm not sure how I would market it when I get to that point. Is there a way to convey this concept to a potential agent? When it comes to books that straddle the line between middle grade and YA, the language I've seen used most commonly is upper middle grade, which indicates that you're targeting really the upper level of middle grade, maybe the lower level of YA, and blending into that age category. With children's books, what I find the most helpful in determining what genre it falls under and what age category it falls under is to look at the age of your protagonist or protagonists. Typically, their age will indicate the target reader age pretty closely. Of course, that doesn't mean that readers who are younger or older won't enjoy that story, but the age of your protagonist tends to be about the age of the reader that you're targeting, at least from my knowledge. That's all we had time for today. Thank you so much to everyone who asked me a question, and if you have a burning question you'd like to ask, drop it in the comments here. I would love to hear what's on your mind. Before you head out, don't forget your free story self-assessment worksheet waiting for you in the description below, as well as my newsletter link. If you forgot to at the beginning of the video, please hit that thumbs up button to help out my channel, and consider subscribing to join our amazing community. Thank you so much for watching, and happy writing.